Have you ever wondered what led to the deadliest conflict in human history, World War II? This global conflict, which lasted from 1939 to 1945, was not born out of the blue. It was the culmination of a series of events, decisions, and actions that led to a war that involved the majority of the world's countries. Let's take a step back to the late 30s. Germany, under the leadership of Adolf Hitler, sought to expand its territory and influence. The spark that ignited the powder keg of World War II was Germany's unprovoked invasion of Poland in September of 1939. This aggressive act was a clear violation of international law, and it marked a disturbing escalation in Germany's territorial ambitions. The world watched in shock as Poland fell under German control, but two nations decided that enough was enough. The United Kingdom and France, horrified by Germany's blatant disregard for Polish sovereignty, declared war on Germany. This was not a decision taken lightly. It was a stand against aggression, a defense of international law, and a commitment to peace. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, another event was unfolding that would have profound implications for the course of the war. Germany and the Soviet Union, two powers that were seemingly at odds, had secretly signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. This pact, named after the foreign ministers of the two countries, was a non-aggression treaty that included a secret protocol to partition Poland between them. This pact represented a temporary truce between two ideologically opposed powers, a truce born out of mutual self-interest. It allowed Germany to avoid a two-front war, and it gave the Soviet Union a free hand in Eastern Europe. These events, the invasion of Poland, the declarations of war by the United Kingdom and France, and the signing of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, were the sparks that ignited the flame of World War II. These events set the stage for a war that would encompass the globe. With the world divided into two opposing military alliances, the stage was set for a global conflict. The Axis alliance, as it came to be known, was initially formed by three major powers: Germany, Italy, and Japan. Their shared ambition of territorial expansion and world domination brought them together in a pact of mutual support. Germany, under the leadership of Adolf Hitler, had already begun its conquest of continental Europe, starting with the invasion of Poland in 1939. Italy, ruled by Benito Mussolini, sought to establish a new Roman Empire, while Japan, under the rule of Emperor Hirohito, aimed to dominate Asia and the Pacific. However, they were not alone. Several other nations, driven by their own political interests or coerced by the Axis powers, became part of this alliance. Their collective might was impressive, but it also drew the attention and concern of other world powers. On the other side of the battlefield stood the Allies. Initially, the United Kingdom and France were the main opponents of the Axis, standing against the aggression and expansionist policies of Germany. They declared war on Germany following its invasion of Poland, marking the beginning of their active involvement in the conflict. As the war progressed, the Allies' ranks grew. The United States, initially maintaining a policy of neutrality, was drawn into the conflict following Japan's surprise attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. The subsequent declaration of war by Germany on the United States marked the official entry of this powerful nation into the alliance. Another major addition to the Allies was the Soviet Union. Despite having initially signed a non-aggression pact with Germany and partitioning Poland, the Soviet Union was forced into the war when Germany launched its invasion in 1941. This opened the Eastern Front, significantly expanding the scope of the war. These alliances, each with their own objectives and ideologies, were ready to engage in a war that would span continents and oceans. A war of such scale had never been witnessed before, and it was about to get even more intense. As the war raged on, it saw pivotal campaigns and battles that would determine its outcome. The theatre of war extended far beyond Europe, stretching into the scorching deserts of North Africa, where the Axis and Allies clashed in grueling warfare. The Allies, led by the British, fought tenaciously against the German-Italian alliance, battling not just enemy forces, but also the harsh environment. Simultaneously, in the Balkans, the Axis powers were flexing their might. The region became a battleground as Germany and its allies sought to strengthen their hold. Yet, the spirit of resistance among the locals never wavered, resulting in a persistent conflict that lasted throughout the war. Meanwhile, the skies over Britain became a stage for one of the most crucial battles of the war, the Battle of Britain. The British Royal Air Force valiantly defended their homeland against the relentless bombing campaign of the German Luftwaffe. Their resilience served as a beacon of hope, a testament to human spirit in the face of overwhelming odds. On the Eastern Front, the war took a dramatic turn when Germany launched its massive invasion of the Soviet Union. The operation, codenamed Operation Barbarossa, marked the beginning of a brutal and bitter conflict that would consume millions of lives. It was a clash of titans that would significantly shape the course of the war. Far from the European continent, Japan was pursuing its own imperial ambitions. Aiming to dominate Asia and the Pacific, Japan launched audacious attacks on American and British territories. The surprise assault on Pearl Harbor in particular marked a significant escalation, drawing the United States directly into the global conflict. Each of these events played a key role in shaping the course of World War II, affecting not just the military strategies of the warring nations but also the lives of countless individuals caught in the crossfire. By 1943, the tide of the war began to shift against the Axis powers. But that, dear listeners, is a story for another scene. 1944 marked a significant year in World War II, with the Western Allies invading German-occupied France. This invasion, known as the D-Day invasion, was a pivotal moment in the war. Thousands of troops from the United States, Britain, Canada, and other Allied nations stormed the beaches of Normandy on June 6th, marking the beginning of a brutal yet crucial campaign to reclaim France from German control. As the year progressed, the Allies continued to push back against the Axis powers. They liberated Paris in August, and by the end of the year, they had regained control of Belgium and Luxembourg, with their sights set on Germany itself. Meanwhile, in the Pacific, the US was waging a relentless island-hopping campaign against Japan, gradually eroding the latter's control over the region. In 1945, the tide of war had decisively turned. The Allies were closing in on Germany from both the east and the west. In May, after the fall of Berlin and the suicide of Adolf Hitler, Germany offered its unconditional surrender, marking the end of the war in Europe. But the war was not yet over. The Pacific theater still raged on. The United States, eager to end the war and minimize further casualties, made a decision that would forever change the course of history. In August, they dropped 2 atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The destruction was unimaginable, leading to Japan's surrender shortly thereafter. With these events, the deadliest conflict in human history came to an end. The world had witnessed the horrors of total war, from the blitzkriegs in Europe to the atomic bombings in Japan. As the dust settled, nations were left to grapple with the aftermath, and the world would never be the same. The end of World War II marked a new beginning for the world. The final echoes of conflict had barely faded when the work of rebuilding began. Germany, Austria, and Japan, once formidable powers, were now occupied territories, their industries and infrastructures shattered by the relentless onslaught of war. War crimes tribunals were swiftly set up, a grim reminder of the atrocities committed. The world watched as justice was meted out, the guilty held to account, and the innocent exonerated. These tribunals were not just about retribution, they were a statement to the world that such horrors should never be repeated. But amidst the rubble and the ruins, something remarkable happened. Society began to transform. Political alignments shifted, old empires crumbled, and new superpowers rose. The United Nations was established, a beacon of hope for a world weary of war. The Soviet Union and the United States emerged as rival superpowers, their ideological differences setting the stage for the Cold War. Decolonization swept through Africa and Asia as nations shrugged off the yoke of colonial rule and embraced independence. The world map was redrawn, and a new world order was born. The world was changed forever, shaped by the events of World War II. World War II may have ended over 7 decades ago, but its impact is still felt today. This global conflict, involving the majority of the world's countries, was a catalyst for significant changes that continue to shape our present reality. One of the most significant outcomes of this war was the establishment of the United Nations. Born out of the ashes of the devastation, the United Nations was created to promote international peace and security. to foster friendly relations among nations, and to coordinate international cooperation in solving global problems. Another significant development was the emergence of the United States and the Soviet Union as rival superpowers. This new world order led to ideological conflicts and power struggles, birthing the Cold War era, a time of political tension and military rivalry that lasted for nearly half a century. The war also triggered decolonization in Africa and Asia. As the European powers were weakened, the grip they held on their colonies loosened. This led to a wave of independence movements across these continents, reshaping the political landscape of the world. In many ways, the world we live in today is a product of the events that unfolded during World War II. As we reflect on the events of World War II, we understand how it has shaped our world. This global conflict, lasting from 1939 to 1945, involved the majority of the world's countries and resulted in 70 to 85 million fatalities. The war's end saw the realignment of global power, the emergence of the United Nations, and the decolonization in Africa and Asia. It's a stark reminder of the devastating impacts of war and the resilience of humanity in its aftermath. If you're enjoying our videos, please consider supporting us by liking and subscribing. It truly makes a difference for us. Thank you.